Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Move on to the consent agenda. Any additions to the agenda? Christie?
I would like to add, I'd like to discuss overtime for an employee that is conducting separate and distinct work. And there's a provision in our personnel manual for that. So I'd like to add that. And the other thing I'd like to add is payroll assistance. We've contacted a CPA, and I'd like to discuss maybe getting some payroll assistance in here.
Ernie?
After reading that article on Grafton's that departments or whatever they're gonna do failed, I would sort of like an update, it's your, I think your portfolio, Amy, on what's happening with that Main Street initiative down on Main Street. Is anything going forward there?
Oh, and that.
Yeah, I don't remember the name, where we pledged money. So,
You have enough?
you have an update? Okay.
Right.
People have been asking me and I don't know what to tell them.
Karen?
No.
Amy?
No.
Christie? Myself, no.
Are you adding that?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I do.
Yep.
You're right. We got a grant for Back the Blue, and Back the Blue. Yep, and it appears that we do need, commissioner approval, to get Ron.
That's what we got, you know, one.
Mhm.
Yep, that was from the legislature, by the way.
Yes, thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Any other additions? We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say the sign. Motion carried. Employee tonight. What? Water board? Wash water, sorry. Were you waiting for,
Right?
Josh?
Josh.
I don't know.
I talked to Joel about it.
Yeah, I don't know if he's.
Why don't you go ahead and present what you got?
All right. And I said,
And this is Walsh water users or soil?
water users,
Or soil conservation?
State your name for the record, please.
Alan Ziden, Director of Walsh Water Users.
Thank you.
We're trying to get, this coincides with the aquifer. Portable aquifer is 43.2 square thousand or 43.2 square mile. And the only other place that we can get water from would be Humney Dam. Well, Humney isn't that big, so. And then we'd be going back to like Grafton is, gets their water out of the Red River. Portable aquifer is dwarfed by the Ogallala aquifer, which is 36,293 square miles. Walsh Water serves 1,410 users. Yeah, plus Minto and Drayton. Minto is classified as one user, Drayton is classified as one user. Minto takes around 13 million gallons, Drayton around 60 million, is going to be taking around 60 million. We get hooked up, we got the pipes in the ground and everything, we're expected to be hooked up to in June of 24. By the time we get done flushing all the pipes and everything. And Drayton will be taking around 60 million gallons, with Crystal taking quite a bit of the of that 60 million. Park River around 18 million, and Walsh Water 43 million gallons. And that all comes out of the portable aquifer. And we've got we're looking for Walsh County to rezone the gravel pits, because that's where all of our water is under. I've got, examples of ordinances. Here's one on the portable aquifer.
Main concern is pollution.
Main concern is pollution and there's people doing open burning sites in the gravel pits and that soaks down. If you look at the page that I just handed out, most of the,
You got another one for Denny?
I'm sorry.
You got another one?
Oh,
If not, I can look with somebody.
here.
Do you want it?
Thank you. Right at this time, they're using 10 wells, is the first 10 pages are, gives you the well number. Halfway down, it gives you the static depth. What is this, the static water level depth, and this was taken in, 2019. You've got the well 1 is 33.5 feet, well 2 is 20 feet. 3 17.5, 4 17.5, 5 is 16, 6 15.4, 7 14.2, 14.6, and 16.2, 18. And the last page is where the wells are in the county. Now, when you have wells that are that shallow and there's only gravel above them, it doesn't take long for anything to get down into it. Now, if you go into this page, the last time that they were monitored, and this is all by the North Dakota Department of Environmental Quality sends this out and tests the wells. The wells, as you can see on the top right side, it says portable aquifer. It's a very small portion of the state, and the light blue is major aquifers across the whole state. And we have, like I said, these static depths aren't very deep. And they do these on a 5-year rotation. The sample, the second page shows you contaminants and everything. The last time there was a readable contamination was 2008, which was invented, which is in chemicals like Basagran, Leader, Pledge, Herbatox, and Bladoc. And it's a digestive toxicity. It's not really a carcinogen. But we have to protect these gravel pits, and that's why I'm here to see if we can get, I know Danny had been talking about some of this needs to be rezoned or whatever. We need to rezone these pits so that they have to be reclaimed. Reclamation is mined lands have to be turned back to beneficial end use, whether it be ag, wildlife habitat, or open space. But the best thing to do there, where there's gravel underneath and it's so porous that everything just goes down, would be wildlife or trees or something like that, or native prairie again.
Ellen, you had a specialist at the soils conservation meeting from Pam. What was?
Rachel Takla, she's with North Dakota Rural Water Systems. She's a source water protection specialist. And I would recommend that you get a hold of her. I've got her contact and everything, and she could probably help with rezoning.
She seemed to be pretty informed about
Yeah,
how to go about this.
yeah,
And soils conservation was also talking about CRT programs and different reclamation programs that we could be implementing. I thought they would have had someone here today, but. Alan sits on the Silicon board.
I'm also on the Three Rivers.
So, I mean, when they reclaim these, they don't have to really just fill them all back up, they just like. you
It
said,
needs to be leveled off, and then we're trying to get programs through the, Code 543 with USDA to help them do this reclamation, because so many of the pits have changed hands. This is just a paper that tells, possible monitoring, inspections, and things that can be done to rezone so that we can get, reclamation done. But, you know, what would you say if somebody told you can't use your water tomorrow
Yeah,
or for the next 2 weeks? You have to get the old galvanized tub out in the kitchen floor and reheat your water, and that's the way you're gonna bathe or.
There's a really good example of this, just driving from 32 on 15 on the north side. There's equipment sitting in the water.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, and that's where I'm coming from, this water that's sitting on 15
yeah,
in the county pit, and it was the old Dushik pit, which is, I think, middle. Michelson or something from Langdon now, Mickelson. They're out of the area, they don't care. I mean, a lot of this needs, and that's the top of the aquifer. That's our water level. And it's open.
so about 6-7 years ago, there was a lot of water in there, now there's nothing, where did it go?
Yeah, went down.
You took everything, the iron and whatever garbage or whatever's in that pit went down with it.
Here's another example, November 9th. EPA tells state of Minnesota to warn 9,000 residents of southeast Minnesota that their wells are likely contaminated with nitrates. That was just November 9th. That's 9,000 water units. Now, we gotta start thinking about this because it can happen. Everybody says it can't. You get a flat tire in your pickup, you're not supposed to, but you do.
Mr. Fairman, I agree, we have to protect our,
Yeah, this is.
totally, have to protect our water. I'm just not sure, should this be a zoning issue? I mean,
It has to
let me
start there,
rephrase
yeah.
that, I think we should be going through zoning, not through the Welsh County Commission,
Right,
but through
yeah.
the zoning
Right.
is where we need to
And I
start.
don't
and
know
get something
what
set
has
up.
to be done or whatever, but it needs to be in a way that there's teeth in it where it has to get,
Absolutely,
reclamation has to be done. And I know it's putting a lot of burden on people that buy a pit and they didn't own it right from square one, but it is what it is, it's mining. And if you go by the mining rules and regulations, it has to be reclaimed.
and as far as putting it into CRP, that's not a goal, because you have to have a cropping history on that land, and if it's been sitting as gravel,
yeah,
you can't.
there was another program.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it wouldn't be
Yeah, it's a
CRP,
different program, but yeah.
yeah,
But that's what we're trying to do is work with USDA and to find out what can be done, where, you know, how we can do this or whatever.
mhm.
And here's just,
I
I
think,
only have 2 of these. You can look through them or copy them off if you want.
But that gal from Upham, I forgot her name already, but she seemed to be pretty informed on the zoning.
Rachel, yeah.
Yeah, how we need
Yeah.
to zone it, and,
This is the groundwater protection overlay for districts. It's an example ordinance, and then here's where you can get help with,
Do you wanna do more study on this and get to the planning and zoning on it, how do you want, cause Denny and I are on planning and zoning. How do you wanna handle it?
I would probably have Rachel come up. She's more
yeah,
tuned in with state law and different things like this. Also Christie is involved with USDA before, so she will know something. I understand things change.
Yeah.
But someplace to start.
Do you wanna just have her come up and get a hold of us, cause it takes a while, the planning and zoning to call meetings, so.
She's available whenever. if it fits her schedule, she'll come up and,
And maybe if she could work it full because.
Yeah, if Kelly will want her there.
yeah.
She'll write up the ordinance, so maybe talk to her and have her, I don't give a dang if you want
If
to
you
go.
give me a date or whatever, I, or
Sure,
contact
Kelly
her, I
should
can
have
give you
one of
her
those
information.
ordinances that-
It's really unbelievable to see what's happening in that area,
Yeah,
and it's scary.
well, when
We
I
can't-
heard that one of the companies want to dig down into the water, they wanna go deeper because they want to gravel. They're talking about doing this within 5 years. Well,
You know,
we
We have
don't
to
need
stop.
more open water.
No,
They wanna go right down into the aquifer?
Yeah, sort of be like the county that you'd have water. Make a nice beach, I guess.
it's not good with birch.
What's gonna have an impact on our gravel pit too?
Oh, yeah, all,
But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
And the county's got tar sitting there
yeah,
in the pit.
Yeah,
well, the
All the
pile,
runoff from the
Yeah.
water, rain. That goes right down to the water, so, I mean, we gotta start looking at these things. The other thing that's coming through, you probably heard about was the pipeline coming from, McCluskey Canal, which brings water from Setaukelia to McCluskey, and then, they're putting a pipeline in to get to Fargo. And Fargo and Grand Forks have been pushing it, and they say, we need it. Well, we don't need it because we got aquifer water, but
yeah.
that type of water doesn't mix with our processed water from the aquifer, so you have to completely drain the pipes, flush everything, and that's why Grafton water and Walshboro water does not mix. We have a valve to turn on to give Grafton some water, portions of it, but,
Water isn't water?
the way it has to be treated and everything is totally different.
Huh.
And that's why we're doing another valve, between, Northeast and Walsh Water over at Adams.
Yeah.
But it's still not big enough to give everybody water, if something does happen.
well, you just talked about Parker, or Fargo and Grand Forks. Can you imagine the treatment that's gonna be involved from that water there? Not only the Grafton has to suck out of the Red River, can you imagine, they call it the muddy red. What kind of treatment needs to be done a lot more there than maybe what Park River has to do down there?
Well, you go to, we went on a tour one time, when we had our annual meeting in North Dakota rural water users in Fargo. And they took us over to Carlson ethanol plant. They have a treatment plant there where they take wastewater from Fargo, treat it and use it in their alcohol processing stuff. Well, the guy had a glass of water sitting there, but I knew where that thing came from, and I. But it was clear as a bell.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you bringing this, you brought it to the soil conservation meeting, that was something that everybody had.
Yeah.
Put on the board and paid attention to it, and,
Yeah, and we would just take it for granted.
yeah,
We turn the water
I
on.
thought about that.
What if they told you you're not gonna have it anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nobody has a cistern under their house anymore or anything, where there's a Murdoch from Inkster was all a truckload out. Well, guess what?
I've
where it
got one.
comes from.
Guess where that comes from? That comes from the Fort Aquifer.
with the best water.
And it's hard, yeah, it's good water, but it's not,
We used to call it the Inkster Springs.
well, it's not conducive for showers. You need a lot of soap and for washing clothes, but it's good water.
You wanna get her name and then we'll.
Yeah, Alan and I will work together on this and get that zoning.
Yeah.
And we'll get a meeting going.
Thanks for bringing this play down.
Yeah.
There'd be another job for our state attorney.
Another ordinance.
We all did get another email too from one of the guys on the board at the soil conservation,
Josh?
Oh,
Jay.
I didn't get anything.
Really?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, Jay, yeah.
Yeah, it was about fits and
Yeah.
aquifer and,
No, I
yeah.
never got anything.
You didn't get it?
Yeah.
No.
well, thank you, Alan.
Yeah,
thanks for your time.
We'll stay in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Good eyes. Good eyes.
Lady Goditis.
Oh, I thought you meant Jay Squirrine.
No,
Okay.
Jay isn't on the board, so,
Jay Gaditis is the other one on, so.
yeah. November 8th, he said.
Gil, are you ready?
Sure.
Zone update?
Good morning, everybody. How are you guys? Good. Good. So I just really wanted to come to you to visit, Christy at the Association of Counties Conference came to me and just voiced some concerns, that she had heard. So I really wanted to come and talk about those concerns. I visited with Kelly too, and I think Kelly has some concerns. And so again, I'm an open book. I want, if there's concerns, I want you guys to know what those are and let's talk about those. And so really try to address what those concerns are. You know, I guess before we start, we have had some turnover. We've had some additional turnover in our agency. Change is hard sometimes, but I also think change can be really good. The two new social workers who we have are, I think are going to be really, really good. I feel like our team is probably already a bit more cohesive. And so we've hired, Mackenzie Lopez. She's a Grafton girl, and she's come back to the area. She comes to us with some juvenile corrections, which I think is really exciting. I'm kind of excited to tap into her brain a little bit on that side. And the other person we hired was Steve Corum. He has also come back to the area. And so they have both started with our agency. Like I said, I think they're both going to be really good. They jumped right in, are excited to learn. And so we are working towards that. So I do think we've got a really good team. But I think let's jump into maybe what some of the concerns are. I don't know who wants to start, but I think I truly just want to have an open discussion. And
Yep.
I have nothing to hide. I mean, you know,
Kelly, you wanna go first?
Okay, yeah, I know Christy and I visited a little bit because, she had come to me because she had heard concerns. And Ron and I also visited, Ron and I just visited yesterday, my understanding that they've been able to meet with the new social workers and that sort of thing. And so I think a lot of it has to do with communication.
Right.
I mean, some of it doesn't, some of it is very much the fact that now we've gone state, and so we've lost that local feel for social services. So for instance, you know, I know that it's really hard for anybody to go in and actually meet with a person at social services. I think that's some of the complaints, like, I reached out to the school just to find out what they're hearing from their, because because that's where a lot of our clients or the people that we serve, the public, has that connection to the school. And so I reached out to the school just to see what their concerns are. And I think their concerns are, there are some people that just aren't able to call a helpline and figure out how to fill out a form themselves. And when they go into social services, there's somebody sitting at the front desk that doesn't have any idea what they're talking about. They're not able to sit down and meet with a social worker like they used to. Instead, they're referred to this helpline where they have to call in and fill out forms and get information that way. So that's one of I think we kind of lost the person-to-person contact that way. And I think that kind of is a disservice to the public and to our Walsh County residents. I don't know, Jill, but so I'm giving some of that. Yeah.
okay. So, I think it's interesting that comment has come up. I mean, certainly our office is open here. We have Debbie who sits at the front desk. If somebody needs assistance, they just need to ask. I mean, truly, one day I was there, and it was through the tax director, I think. He had asked about someone coming over. We sat down, I had somebody assist him fill out applications. We did all that, you know, with, people coming in. They maybe don't help as much, but truly, if that's an issue, I will address that. And I will, because that is what we are supposed to be doing. They should not be referring them to the helpline, because we are still in our zone answering the calls for the clients ourselves. So if somebody is calling our office, Debbie in the Grafton office here is managing most of those calls. Because I don't want our clients going to the customer support call center. It's not effective, it's not efficient, so they should not be going to that. That I want them served in our zone, that's how I.
So
want
is
them
that
served.
true for economic assistance?
That's economic assistance,
Okay.
yes, absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
because the feedback I got was that there's just no longer any one-on-one workers with economic assistance.
There
that
isn't
they're-
one-on-one,
That they
no.
have to call somebody, leave a message, wait for a call back and
And
be put on
generally,
hold. I think there was long hold times and I think that was discussed at the, so maybe they've addressed that now, but.
and that is still the case, and economic assistance, the call center is not working. I mean, I wish they would just shut it down completely, rebuild it up. It's not gonna happen. I know that's not going to happen, but it's not working effectively. And that's why if our clients are calling our phone numbers, I want addressed and I want us to get the answers to our clients. Sometimes we're not always able to do that. They are working on. They're working on it. We are constantly talking about how we need to do better for the economic assistance because it's not working well. We have now opened up the entire state. So our workers could be working a case in Dickinson. The reason they did that is because there was still so much backlog in the southeast region, Cass County, basically. I have had workers come to me and say, those clients down there are so thankful, they're cheerful, they're crying, saying, thank you for helping us. Because they sent in an application and it sat there for months. It's an expedited food stamp app and it sat for probably 2 months and nobody worked it.
There's nothing worse than the call center. And to me, they should scrap them because everybody wants to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
I had an issue last week, my pickup starter went, I called one dealer at 8:30 in the morning. Never heard from him, it was an emergency, I needed to go. Called another dealer, spoke to a person, he told me what to do. 3:30 that afternoon, that other guy called me, and the call stuck in the call center. And I'm going, you're no good to me. And I don't get where the businesses or anything nowadays, even us, social service, why do we have a call center? We want a person that somebody can talk to.
Yeah. And-
That's service.
And I agree, and that's why, again, when people are calling any one of our phone numbers, I'm wanting us to deal with those. Oftentimes people, when they go through our and again, we have an automated system as well. When they go through that, they may push mind. Well, if somebody comes to me, I go right to the eligibility supervisor and say, can you take care of it? I think our workers really are trying to do as much as we can. However, if clients are calling the call center, as they've been instructed to do, via emails and all of the information out there, they are sitting on hold for a long time. I 100% say that. And so if clients need something, I encourage them to call one of our local numbers and we will make sure they are taken care of.
So, Mr. Chairman, Jill, wouldn't it be an easy fix then, just to get the word out to the schools and the people you deal with? That, hey, don't call the call center, call us.
And we can do that. And again, I hadn't heard that it was a concern.
Well, there's our lack of communication. It's my understanding that we used to have meetings amongst the counselors, the state attorney, sheriff, law enforcement. They used to have monthly, is that correct, monthly?
Well, that's something different though.
Okay.
That was child protection. So
Okay.
that's something different.
But still, in that communication, when you have those monthly meetings and you have
Sure.
communication, these issues would be coming up. And in my book, as adults and as leaders in the community, we're responsible to make sure our children are not being left behind. And right now, I feel like our children are being left behind based on what I've been informed of. I mean, we had a child sitting out on the interstate. Law enforcement picked them up. They couldn't get a hold of anybody. Now
You did. They came to our office and I'm sorry, but I'm going to disagree. They came to our office. I was standing there when she came in. I immediately said, yep, we got it taken care of.
But what happened prior to that, Ron?
So there's an on-call list, and that on-call list, there was multiple names and multiple numbers on that call list, and Lisa tried calling on that call list. And, was not able to get they were not able to get an answer.
Because on-call isn't during the day, on-call is only, and I believe that was on there, Ron, that on-call is only after 4:30. Call our office, I mean, all you need to do is call the main office. I apologize that you weren't able to get hold of it. I truly do, and we are working on it. But I also feel like it's just been decided that we're not doing what we need to be doing, and, you know, I don't think that's factual at all.
But how many years have we been doing this now, Jay? How long have we been working on this?
3 years,
It's
isn't it?
been 3 years. We need to be up to par by now.
Kelly, what else do you have?
Well, I think that though, in just defense, I think she has resolved that. We now have one phone
Yeah.
that gets transferred
I
around
was gonna say that.
from staff to staff, so there's just one number for law enforcement to call. They don't have to look up numbers or anything like that, they should be able to just call that one number and get somebody.
Right.
Good.
So that's,
Glad to hear that's been resolved.
Yes, and to Jill's credit, we sat down and talked about a lot of the issues that I have, and we had a very nice meeting with her staff, and I think it was a very productive meeting, and we were able to meet each other, and we're doing the same job. We should be able to work together on some of these issues, and I think we've taken that first step, and I think they've definitely been calling our office, and we've been working together more than I've seen in a very long time. So I think that is a good step forward.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because that's not what I was hearing a month ago. So I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
that you've taken some steps. And all it took was for us to start talking, right? So,
Well, and I think that's the thing, and, you know, with both Ron and Kelly, I can't change things if I don't know what the concerns are either. I mean, and that's, so yes, I need to do better at communication, absolutely. But I don't think I'm the only person
No,
that needs to do better with communication. And if the school has concerns,
yeah,
there's enough people at the school who know me and know me well, that you can certainly reach out to me, but I'm not hearing that from them either. Again, I can't fix it if I don't know what's going on.
I guess I'd appreciate if you just send out a mass email to the schools and let them know what numbers they can contact so that they aren't going down
Sure, I can
the
do
wrong
that.
pipeline. You know, it's kind of a
Absolutely.
simple fix, I think.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question too in regards to when you're talking about the state and allocating services to the southeast. That is not affecting our current bill, because when you talk about the call center, it sounds like they wanted to distribute it. Because we could take care of our people before, but we couldn't take care of the state because they were so backlogged. Now, though, kind of what you're saying is I mean, are your staff still helping with that backlog down there and we're missing
Yeah.
here? Is that part of it, or are we?
So it's completely, we've opened up everything, so it's all statewide now. So again, when paperwork comes in, we scan it in, it goes into this computer system, right? It goes in there, and then it's assigned to a lane, a swim. Okay, so swim lane 1 is just Medicaid. Swim lane 2 is SNAP Medicaid. Swim lane 3 is LIHEAP, SNAP, Medicaid, and childcare. And swim lane 4 is TANF. So swim lane 3 right now is overwhelmed because of fuel assistance, right? And with that program starting. So the other thing that we've been working on is lane 4, TANF. They've been pretty low for a long time. And so there's been lots of push, and I've been one that's been pushing hard on the other directors that they need to be working. You know, they need to be working harder. They need to be helping another lane. Just because your lane is caught up doesn't mean you get to sit and do nothing, you know?
Yeah.
They need to be helping out. Emails, I'm sure there's probably or 5,000 emails just sitting out there in the state system. Because it's, so again, that lane 4 then is gonna help with emails, to get through those emails. And it's just, we're working on it, it's taking time. But we just have to keep hounding, because, and that's something that I keep saying at directors' meetings, at other meetings, we are here for the clients. This isn't about me, this isn't about my staff, this is about making sure the clients are getting what they need. That's why we're here.
So do you feel people from our county are sitting in that 4,000 to 5,000 emails, that we have people from our
Well,
county that are sitting
there
in?
could be stuff that's sitting out there, and
But yet if they came directly to you, they could be helped, if they came directly to you guys.
and we do have a lot of people coming in and out of our office. I mean, there
So we
is a
just
lot
need
of
to
foot
get the word
traffic.
out that they need to come in directly to your office. So
Well-
that they're not sitting there waiting in this 5,000 pile of emails.
But the state doesn't want them.
That
to
the
come
state
in
doesn't want that,
directly
no,
to
they
their
really don't, yeah.
But you said that's not working.
Well,
So-
I'm just concerned about Walsh County and I'm.
And that's where my concern is too, absolutely, and that's why we continue to do everything we can to help our clients.
Kelly, do you have anything else today?
I do have a couple other things, so that was, more the economic assistance, but as far as the child protection and neglect, and Jill and I have gone over at least some of this before, but I hadn't until a few weeks ago, I hadn't had a new deprivation case brought up to my office in 18 months to 2 years. And the 2 that I did before that was because the former CPS director reached out to me and said, hey, I think there's some dangers here. We didn't get a finding of child abuse and neglect, but wondering if you would take a look at it and see what you can do. And I decided on my own to bring that into court and get a child in need of protection finding. Sorry, I said deprivation earlier, but that's old language. So a child in need of protection finding, and then we were able to require that family to go through services. So, and I know that there's a whole new system change, but just so that the commission is aware too, teachers now call in to report a child in need of protection, child abuse or neglect, and do a report. They call in, and for instance, they have tons of frustrations because an 18-year-old sibling will tell them that this is going on in their home to a younger sibling, okay? That 18-year-old is living in the home, knows what's going on in the home, and they immediately decline that report of child abuse and neglect because that other child was interviewed and wouldn't confirm it. The younger one.
Shay.
They were scared to.
Because the information didn't come from that younger child to the teacher, it came from an older sibling to the teacher, so they won't even consider it, which is completely new and very disturbing to me, because that person is in the home, knows what's going on.
And an adult.
Same thing with adult protective services. For instance, a person who is an adult in need of protection, because if they don't have a guardian, they're their own advocate. So therefore, anybody else who reports it and not coming from the adult themselves, who is in need of protection anyway, if that information doesn't come from the adult themselves, it's considered hearsay and they won't do anything about that.
Is that new, Kelly?
I think that's new. We used to take a lot more reports. We used to take them seriously and consider them, and they used to go to the office so that Walsh County, I mean, those reports used to come into Walsh County, so people knew the family, knew the situation, knew the older child, and took those more seriously than just somebody at intake. And I think they do that a lot. I don't think we understand that a lot of times children aren't gonna report on their own parents.
They're scared.
They're scared to be taken
And a
on
lot of
board.
them have been told too. So, I mean, that's kind of a systematic wide problem, but also, you know, I talked to Trail County State's attorney, and they're getting child in need of protection reports in their office all the time. And when I met with the other state's attorneys, they didn't seem to have a huge lack. I mean, there's definitely frustrations across the board of the state's attorneys with the new, policies in place and with the zone situation. So I'm just, and Jill knows my frustrations with that, because I find it really hard to believe that we don't have children that are abused and neglected in Walsh County all of a sudden, just because we've now gone to the zone and it's a state run organization.
So can I just ask, Jill, how are we handling?
So reports come to intake. They
Intake
go
is
to-
statewide,
Yeah,
it
it's,
doesn't come to you guys. Doesn't come to you at Walsh County.
no, it goes to intake. I am liaison with the unit. The intake unit is running very well. There is no concerns with the intake. Certainly, there have been some policy changes, and those are statewide. You know, those are the state telling us how we need to run practice. So that's been the change, is the safety framework model that we now are required to utilize. So yes, we are zone employees. The state weighs in on my evaluation. The state is going to be doing report cards. I don't have a choice. I need to follow what the state tells me to do. I need to follow the safety framework. Our agency needs to follow the safety framework. I don't get to make that choice. So what they look at is there has been a very much change of practice. You know, before we used to remove kids left and right. That's not best for kids. It's really not. We've had kids that have been in over 25 placements. That is not okay. We have kids that have been terminated on that we can't find homes for, that are sitting in hotels, that are sitting in hospitals for 3-4 months at a time. Their behaviors are completely out of control. It's a pendulum, and that's what we're doing. Now we're swinging back the other way.
We're leaving them in the homes.
We're leaving them in the homes. We are trying to get services into the homes if possible. But certainly, I don't disagree with Kelly that it's a pretty high threshold to get a confirmed finding on a case. I mean, it has to be pretty bad. And really, and I did bring in, Kelly, I don't know if you're interested in looking at what that is. But it talks about impending danger, present danger. Present danger is really when we would look at placement, okay, at that point. But truly, rather than putting them in a foster home, what we want to look at is, what if the person who's doing the abuse, maybe they need to leave the home? Why is it that kids need to be removed from the home? Is there a family member that these kids can go to? Is there a neighbor down the street? Is there somebody else to try to keep some normalcy for these kids? Because I think we have found putting them in foster care isn't the answer. Placing them with strangers. You know, I have an example from, years and years ago. I had a kid I was working with. She and I had a decent relationship. The minute she found out her mom was on a phone call, she became this, and Jill, you don't do this and you don't do this. The loyalty kids have to their parents never goes away.
No.
Never goes away. Kids have been asked as they've aged out of out of foster care, when they've turned 18, they want to be with their families. They want to be with their biological families.
Kelly, is there anything else?
Yeah, just a couple things with regard, I'm not saying that we need to necessarily remove more kids. I understand that whole thing. My concern is the services aren't getting into the home. And that has to do, I understand that has to do with the safety framework. That doesn't mean that it's right or anything like that. I mean, we're now in a situation where the state's attorney basically said, one state's attorney put it very well. You have a parent hanging a child over the 3rd floor staircase. And hanging that child upside down over the 3rd floor staircase. You call, that is clearly child abuse neglect, right? you call another family member or something, and you get that parent to walk that child back downstairs, and there's no more child abuse and neglect anymore at that point, and everybody goes their merry way. Or the situation where you have a search warrant at a house and they recover a ton of methamphetamine and paraphernalia. Well, there's no child abuse and neglect anymore because the task force has just seized all that. And so the child can remain in that home with the parents because there's no child abuse and neglect because they have, at that point, removed all the drugs and the drug paraphernalia.
We had not rehabilitated the parent though at that point. So it's coming back.
Yeah, so that wouldn't even fall under the safety framework because there's no clear and present danger at that time because task force just removed. Doesn't matter that the next day that parent goes out and buys another amount of methamphetamine and goes and uses because we aren't probably even gonna test that parent going forward.
Mr. Chair.
Or am I wrong, Jeff?
I think you're wrong. I mean, I think you would still have a child protection assessment. They would still meet with the parents, talk with the parents. We tend to do more drug testing than most zones do. We don't do as much as we used to, certainly, but we would still have that assessment happen.
Right, but whether there be a finding or not. Right, so then you have a family that doesn't have to participate in services. It's all voluntary, whether they want to do it or not.
And
And
so
that's where the problem lies, Jeff.
we gather the information. The workers gather the information and then they staff it with a field service specialist who is a state employee. That person makes the decision. You know, that's not up to us to make that decision. They make the decision if it's a confined or confirmed finding or not.
Mr. Chairman, we all know the writing's on the wall. There's no way abuse stopped in our county in the last 3 years, but our cases have dropped off. So there's a problem and we have to get to the bottom of it. I'm sorry, but we have to get to the bottom of it because we're not protecting our children. We're not.
I would disagree.
No,
with you,
there's
but-
no way all these cases just dropped off to zero, Jill.
But
No
just
way.
because they're not getting to Kelly's office doesn't mean we're not addressing these families.
Karen, you had something? You're on the Human Services Board at the state level.
Yeah, but we don't deal directly with what the zones do, okay? Get that straight. We don't, you know, and I can't sit here and say we're gonna take care of this because the human service is their own entity. I'm just on the Human Service Committee. Can things change? Yes, but living in the world we are, you guys, this isn't gonna change overnight, okay? Because our families are like this. And I see Kelly's side, of course, we need to do something about it, but Jill is stuck between a rock and a hard place because this is what the state has mandated to do, okay? The state meaning human service, the Human Service Department, Health and Human, and I don't know, I think the best thing is to just go back to trying to take care of it locally and not through, I mean, how do we get a state person come in and assess something when, well, they're told the story, right, Jill, about everything?
No, so we have local
Okay,
child protection workers.
okay, well, I know that,
In
but,
Cavalier County are the local child protection.
okay, I thought you said that some other state person came in and assessed it.
No, they
Okay.
make the decision.
Oh, they make
They
the
make that
decision,
decision, but
okay.
our workers in our zone do.
And they should be able to tell.
They do the investigation, they're the ones interviewing the kids or interviewing the family members and those sort of things. And then they go and present it to this person who makes
Yeah.
the final decision.
So it does come down to then part of it, whether the kids wanna be even out of the home. That's a big part, whether they're telling the whole story too about what's going on there.
But, you know, as far as, and you and I, Kelly, have talked about that before too.
Right.
That has,
There's just not enough sources that
Yeah.
they're considering legitimate anymore. They're putting so much emphasis on what the kids tell them.
but it has been that way, because I remember even 10 years ago, if a child denied that something happened, that there was physical abuse, there was no bruises, there was nothing. We couldn't get a confirmed finding at that point either, because we had nothing. I mean, we've always put a lot of stock in what the child says. We always have.
If there could be a happy medium, because it could be, I mean, where we used to take everybody out of the home. And then we had no place, and we saw what happened a couple of years ago or a year ago, when we had to be in an apartment or in a hotel with a kid, and then things happen. We know what happened, and that's hard. That's hard for the workers to do all this. And so, I mean, it's not something we're gonna resolve or take place, but just communicating about this.
That's what it
good.
comes down to.
This sort of almost mirrors our sheriffs, like I said, the prisoners nowadays, they don't want them in jail. It's the same thing with our kids, it seems like we're just shoving them over here and we don't want them.
Yeah.
And it's the state, I know it's the states and your hands are tied, but to me, if they're making the wrong decisions.
But many of these problems that Ron has to deal with
Yeah.
starts out at this point.
Yeah.
Certainly, and you know, and again, I mean, the kids that we have in our custody right now are so difficult, are
Yeah.
so challenging. I mean, we've had kids, I've had 3 workers who have been assaulted by kids. You know, it's just what kids are coming with now is, and at 5 and 6, their behaviors are horrible.
And I told you, because they're horrible, because they're those kids.
Mom and dads, yes.
But we also need more services.
Yes.
We need services that can take these really hard kids that nobody wants because they're assaulted. We need services that we can start when they're younger so that these kids can learn better.
So where do we go from here? Where do we get some resolution? Who do we talk to? What do we do? Because we have to do something.
And I know we had talked about, trying to pull together some people, and I honestly haven't had a chance to do it, and I apologize. No excuses, but you know, I run 4 days a week and I mean, or travel 4 days a week and it's a lot. My staff are running. We had a situation, in Cavalier County with a border situation and where, you know, my staff are running too, and you know, but certainly, yes, we do need to do something.
So what are we going to do?
Well, I think we need to set up a meeting. I mean, I think and talk about what can we do? What services can we try to pull in here to make it better?
So you're gonna set up a meeting with the sheriff and Kelly and
I think
who else you guys think?
the key people in our communities, I think the schools, yep, absolutely, the schools.
So do you think we could get one set up within the next month? No.
I would like to wait until January. December is just too
Okay, so-
early.
so by February 1.
Crazy.
Let's try to get a meeting set up by February 1. Do we have to do something? If there's a child sitting out there not getting the help they need, it's on us. Because we're not doing our job, so we've gotta do something. I'm sorry.
It's definitely a passionate subject, and I think we all share the same thoughts and the same needs of what we need to do. We just need to pursue it. I'll leave it up to you guys to work on the meeting and set something up.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Can we put that a little later on the agenda? Yeah, let's take a break here.
Thank you.
I was all in first. I just.
I guess everybody's here for the real estate land sale, delinquent tax. Just have to remind everybody that form has to be filled out before you're an eligible bidder. And the starting bid on each one of the parcels will be the tax that is owed. And all of these purchases have to be satisfied today, correct?
Yes.
And with that, we'll start with parcel 1. 190000481170. The starting bid is $216.31. Is there any interest in that parcel? With the opening bid? Is there any other bids? I'll call for the bids 3 times and then we'll consider it sold. Are there any other bids? Are there any other bids? We'll consider it sold to, you want to state your name?
David Landsteiner. And it'll be in, well, I'll give you business names later for title work.
Okay, we'll go on to parcel 2, 31. 00000 738,010. Opening bid is $101.47. Is there any interest in that parcel?
David.
Is there anybody else interested in that parcel? Anybody else want to raise the bid? Now we'll consider it sold to the same guy. Okay, we'll move on to parcel 3, 37. Did I just say the first numbers instead of going through all of them?
Yes.
Okay, good, yeah. Opening bid is $8,931.36. Any interest in that parcel? Any interest in that parcel? Any interest?
Is that a minimum bid for 8,000 or was there, can you bid anything or what's the deal?
And then opening bid would be $8,000.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
for sale here.
Yep,
No,
no interest?
not for that one.
All right, we'll consider it no sale.
Don't have to.
The next parcel would be parcel 5, 43. Opening bid is $79.77.
Where was it? Skip the station.
Hmm?
Parcel 4.
So 4 and 8 are off.
4 and 8 are on.
Yes.
4 and 8 are.
Parcel 4 was satisfied evidently.
Yeah.
The one on Conway?
In Grafton.
The one grab,
Oh.
okay.
With Bradford.
No, this is the updated one, that's the offer.
Oh,
Parcel 43, open bid is $79.77. Is there any interest in that one? Any interest? Is there any interest in that parcel? No, we'll consider it no sale. Next one is parcel 6, number 43. Opening bid is $73.95. Any interest in that one?
Any bid on that?
We have one bid. Is there any other interest? Any other bid? No, we'll consider it sold. Article 7, 45. City of Edinburgh. $3,007.44. Any interest in that parcel? You have one bid. Any other interest?
Yeah, I'll do 3,100.
3,100,
32.
32,
35.
3,500,
Or
$4,000.
$5,000.
$5,000. $6,000. Now, I understand there's a vehicle sitting on this property. It's star knowledge that isn't included in this.
Yeah, I get it, whoever wants to have the vehicle, too much work to get title.
So the vehicle, well, I
And
don't
then
know.
part of the real estate's only the property and what's attached to it. So the truck does not come with it, you have to go through whatever.
Right, this is just for the real estate.
Mhm.
Where was the bid at? 6,000?
I'll just have it out.
$7,000. $8,000.
9,000.
9,000.
$10,000.
$10,000?
$11,000.
How much?
$11,000.
11,000? No. There's $11,000. Any further interest at 11,000? You might want to raise the bid, $11,000? No? We'll consider it sold for 11,000. Okay, now we're down to parcel number 48, Adams, North Dakota. $1,823.79. Any interest in that? Any interest in that parcel? Any interest in that parcel? Now we'll consider it no sale. We're down to number 10, parcel 48. City of Grafton, $1,729.54. Any interest in that one? Do they have an opening bid? Any interest in that parcel? Consider no sale. The final parcel, 49. City of Grafton. Opening bid is $86.12. Any interest in that parcel? Any interest in parcel number 49? Any interest at all? No, we'll consider it no sale. And that's it. That concludes the sale.
Is there a way to bid on the house and even though you didn't get the bid, how does that work? Can you put a bid in it? Like the one for 8,000, one Grafton. You talk to the council, you put a bid in or something, or how does that work, or you just go to the next day or something?
So the next step for us is to offer it to the city. So the city can purchase it back, and after that, it becomes, the city handles it the way they want. So that's how we handle it.
So after the sale, now the city owns it
No, they have an opportunity to purchase it.
for that amount.
No, I don't believe for that amount. No, the city has an opportunity to purchase it, I believe, for $1. And a filing fee.
Yeah.
And if they don't want it, you want to, then one.
It stays with the county. And that's what the last two properties on this list was, last year's sale, no sale. And this.
So if the city of Grafton doesn't want it for $1, it goes back to you and then next time it goes on the market again.
Okay. Yeah, right, Chris, that is correct, right? We just pay or offer it to the city for $1. And then from there, it is the city's.
But these are Grafton.
Yeah, the last two were not in. Yes, it was Adams and
That's the bad address of the owners.
Airedale is where those properties.
We have a number of properties that were. The owner declared bankruptcy as of yesterday that we had to pull off the sale.
So then if the city doesn't buy it for $1, then it goes back to you guys?
Yes,
Stays with
And
us.
by century code, we have to take that minimum bid, don't we?
correct.
Yep.
But if they don't, if they don't want nothing to do with it, if they don't want to mess with it, they won't give you $1 and then it goes back to you guys. And then at what time do you put it back on the market again?
Next year.
Next year.
next year, that's gonna be, so I come back here next year again, and it's gonna be $8,921 and some cents.
Ed?
Isn't it just, if the city doesn't get back, it's continually for sale?
Yes,
Right.
Yeah,
It's good, I believe somebody can come in anytime now and make an offer, the minimum bid, I could be wrong.
You could come back tomorrow, Kevin, and still offer us 89. It is, that's the price.
that's the right.
That's the taxes.
I can't do 2,000.
No, nobody else could, so you have to give us the price of the taxes that are owed on it.
Any other questions from anybody? Thank you all for participating.
Thanks for coming.
You need to take a break, so I can get this,
Yeah.
to get the signatures, or get the,
It won't be down.
amounts that the
Sure.
gentleman has to.
We're gonna take a 5-minute break. 5 minutes.
Oh,
Yes. Good morning.
Thank you for,
You're welcome, not a problem. I'm here, to ask for to order our vehicles for 2024, and I have the state bid price in front of you from Nelson Autos.
Was it for two?
It is gonna be for two, yes.
Okay.
come on, open
See, the price has gone up dramatically. Okay. Anything else?
The quote be in your package.
Your initial
Just go down
November
and sit around.
16th.
I assume you're not able to get bids also, because I know this is very difficult to even get bids.
The state bid is gonna be the lowest bid anyway, and I'm looking for Ford Explorers this year.
Whatever happened to the 35,000 bids?
I'm gone.
Yeah.
That's where they are.
Yeah.
How many are you looking for?
Two.
And Ford Explorers, Ron, just, you've had the best, I mean, is there a reason that you look for those?
It is, they've worked really well for us for just the upkeep and the maneuverability of having a mid-sized vehicle.
And this is built into your budget, correct?
It is.
Okay, I would make a motion that we allow Ron to purchase the two Ford Explorers.
Yes, two Ford Explorers, yes.
Second.
$51,789.
I'll second. And then there'll be radios and stuff on top of it, right?
There will be, yes.
What do you trade-ins, or what do you, have a couple of vehicles you're?
I will try and sell those on either to the ambulance company or there's a taxi company out of Chicago that we get a bid from, and they've been very competitive. No one's been able to beat those bids so either of those two companies have been who we've been selling them through.
Any further discussion?
I'm just curious, is this the same Nelson that has the ownership and brands and stuff?
It is.
It is, yes.
You have it in your budget?
Yeah. Yes, yes. I do.
Any further discussion? Now we'll call for the vote, Karen.
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Christie?
Yeah.
Ernie?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried.
On the back,
So is that this year's budget or next year?
it will be next year.
Next year?
but
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But with the delay in
Yep.
ordering and getting,
Just to make it clear.
yes, it is for 2024 budget, yes.
When will they be here?
Who knows?
That is a great question. Anywhere from July to August to September, something that hopefully in that range.
Yeah.
Can we move on to back to Blue Grant?
Yes.
As everybody probably knows, the Back to Blue grant was a House bill, I believe, that passed, that gave money to law enforcement officers and correction officers for retention and recruitment and retention, and also training. I'm asking for the county commission to authorize me to expend the Back to Blue grants approved by House Bill 1306, which was passed by the 2023 legislature. For the categories outlined as follows: funding may be provided for hiring and retention bonuses to new and current law enforcement officers and correction officers, and provide tuition and fee payments on behalf of law enforcement trainees.
Mr. Chairman, I so move that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Ron, did we get the 2,900 or 1,400 per employee?
So it was a specific amount per officer and corrections officer that we had on staff at the time they took the survey. So the breakdown will probably be about $1,600 a piece.
Were you fully staffed, hopefully, when that survey went out?
No, it was not, unfortunately.
Now it's up to you to choose how you want to use those funds.
Yes, and I've been working with Christie a lot on what other people have done, and it is gonna. I think the best and fairest way of doing it is to have it. I'm gonna use it for retention bonuses, and we're gonna put it in their checks monthly. So it is, if somebody leaves mid-month, it's for the month that they worked rather than giving it all up front. Seems like the best way of doing that. So it's what other sheriffs are doing. So, and I like that. So it's also going to be for correction staff too. So I think it'll be a huge benefit. I just want to say that I am not going to be taking any of that money that'll be used for my staff, not for me. So.
Are you up to full staff?
In the sheriff's office, yes.
Jail or still short?
We're still working on that, yes. I think we're one. We're one missing in the jail right now.
When do the funds have to be spent by?
March of 25.
Well, you got time there.
So if we implement it starting January 1st, we should have enough time to expend those funds.
Another good way for retention would be to pay the majority about out towards March of 25 instead of monthly, but. Just an idea.
I get that. Yes, you're probably right.
Any further discussion for Ron?
But if you can use the retention to give these guys a check each month, and it might keep them here instead of going somewhere else too. Which, you
That
know,
was my hope.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Now we'll call for the vote. Karen,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Christie,
Yeah.
Ernie?
Yes.
Myself, yeah. Motion carried.
Just a brief update on the jail, meetings coming up. Have a meeting with Alavadas and with the Samuels group this week. On Thursday,
Everything.
so,
That's
No, wait, Thursday.
Wait, that's Thanksgiving.
That's Thanksgiving.
sorry, I did this 100 times this week, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Is that for everybody or just the committee?
1:30.
It is for whoever Danny decides, the two commissioners that
Yeah,
Danny
okay.
decides to send.
And which one is tomorrow? Who's coming tomorrow?
Nobody's coming, it'll be all by
Oh,
teams.
well, I'm sorry.
It'll be Alavadas in the morning,
What time is that?
and that's 10 o'clock. I'll get you
Oh, I thought it was
times.
11.
11? Is it 11?
That was 11.
Sorry,
But I
it could be
wrong.
11. 11 and, the other one's at
1:30.
1:30. I think 11, yeah, it is 11.
And you were sending out a new Teams meeting,
I haven't gotten it
but
yet
you're going to, okay,
Yes.
at 11, okay.
for Alavadas, yeah. That's all I have unless you have any questions for me. Reminder, our employee appreciation is coming up, on the
Remember there's.
1st of December, so right around the corner in Park River.
So RSVP due tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so if anybody,
She's waiting to get one.
Did they resend it? Cause the first one had last year's.
Angie,
Yes.
Angie sent it out, so if you search for Angie, and there it's a Google Doc,
That does help.
I'm sorry.
Well, we can
I
have.
can resend it,
I
yeah, I'll
wish you
resend.
would, because I
Well,
didn't remember it.
have it resent.
Yeah, I'll maybe
Yeah,
just send it
great.
to everybody.
Yeah.
Just reply all, and just a reminder.
Others are not coming.
Okay.
Your sons. I can't get Tanya's, for Tanya's.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, I found.
And Sherry will not be attending. She was out sick over the weekend and yesterday.
Okay.
So she will probably have to push that back.
We move on to the Wesleyville update.
Is everyone here?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yesterday I sent out a draft of this. This is the final copy. I didn't have the signatures yet. Donnie and I were knocking on doors yesterday and talking to people and getting signatures for the last.
Thank you.
The last page, I've got another one. The last page will be all signatures. And I want to thank the commission for work on this. Very much. I just wanted to update the commission on what's going on in Wesleyville. Basically, since Mr. Sand had his last court appearance, which was around November 13th, and in between now, he has made no attempts to clean anything up. In fact, as you read here, last night, the most recent, a flatbed of additional junk arrived around 4:30 last night and was unloaded. And I do have pictures if you want to see the flatbed.
We believe you.
So we've been watching really closely what's going on there. So I'll just read it. It was noted that between Mr. Sand's second appearance and today, November 20th, 2023, Mr. Sand has made no attempt to remove material from the property. It would be reasonable expectation that if Mr. Sand was taking these charges seriously, he would take advantage of the unseasonably nice weather we've been having and start removing the material and clean up the property. Unfortunately, this isn't happening. Based upon Mr. Sand's pattern of conduct, in my opinion, he has no interest or intention of cleaning up the property. Instead, he'll wait until the snow when the winter comes. It makes it impossible to clean up the property and yet have another excuse as to why he hasn't cleaned up anything and just keep dragging out the process. What we have found in Wesleyville is Mr. Sand has a pattern of non-compliance on numerous occasions. When approached by the community, he promised us to clean up the property. He has made the same promises for many years to the community of Nash with the property he once owned. Now that community is responsible for cleaning up his mess and no doubt puts them in financial hardship. Again, he is making the same promises to the residents of Wesleyville, the Walsh County Commission, and to the court, stating that he has every intention to clean up the property in Wesleyville. He also claimed that he's working to clean up the property to everyone's satisfaction. Well, as of writing this today, there is no evidence that Mr. Sand is in the process of removing anything from the property. And I don't believe that he has any indication to do so. The more time we give him, the more problems we're going to have with rodents. We've already got some complaints that we have gophers and such moving into the cemetery. We've never had that before. So, we've been catching rodents in the community, and I've lived here for 20+ years, never had any trouble with that kind of stuff.
I understand there was a complaint filed to the sheriff's department from Walsh County, correct, or?
There's been a criminal complaint filed in court, yes. There, and then Mr. Windsor did he filed this complaint with the sheriff's office. Yesterday, was it yesterday or today?
Today.
Okay.
So, here we are. I don't know what more to do. I think it's important that you guys get kept up to date with what's going on, so you know what's going on. I know you guys came out and did a partial cleanup, where the superintendent came out and did a partial cleanup. While that's slowly getting back into the area again. The biggest problem is the safety concern, the obstruction. There's an intersection there, and there's an obstruction of when you're coming to the intersection, you can't see what's coming from the township road. And when you're coming from the township road, you can't see what's coming down number 18. We did have during the beef harvest, there was a situation where we had 2 trucks that almost got into an accident there. Of course, they were probably going a little too fast through the community at the time, but you know, we all know how harvest goes. And you know, everybody's in a hurry, and nobody's kind of looking maybe as much as they should, but there shouldn't be an obstruction there. You should be easily to see what's coming from each direction, and you can't right now. So that's a real, I think, a real hazard. So that's all I have. Like I said, I do have pictures if you want to see
Yeah,
them.
no, it's fine. That's right. I guess all I can say is we're dealing with it through the courts. And I'll pass and that process move along.
So his next court appearance is set for January 8th. He did tell the court at the last court appearance that he was no longer employed out in Minot, and that he was planning on cleaning it up. That's what he said in open court. At his last court appearance on the 13th or 14th, whatever it was. At the January 8th date, I fully expect it to be set on for trial. So that's the process. We knew it wasn't gonna be fast, right?
Yep.
Especially if Mr. Sand wasn't going to cooperate and clean up, but, so that's about all I can say on that.
Jason, we're
That's where we're at.
keeping that right away clear.
And Jason and I have discussed it right away.
I discussed it, I have spoken with Joey Sand about having the dumpster moved over. We can't remove the dumpster, hoping that they will use it to clean up the property. However, we're gonna go to the point where we have issues with right of way. The town of Vestyville has issues with right of way, 100%, because the right of way in Vestyville is 75 feet. And that incorporates lots of things. So it's open to interpretation of what's in everybody's yard as to what is debris and different stuff. Now, people have said, well, what about our driveways? Well, what about the parking? We have to look at everything equally from my aspect of it. I have to look at the clear space. So we're gonna come in and talk about right-of-way issues. And we're gonna keep pushing the right-of-way issue. The right-of-way issue has to go all the way through town, which means trees that are there, dumpster for Mr. Fee is there, people's vehicles and trailers are all in the right-of-way. Lawn ornaments are in the right-of-way. Other items in people's trees by the pictures I took yesterday when I was out there. So my hands are kind of tied with where we're at. We're in the court. I'm trying to work with Kelly on making sure that everything Bill needs is there. But if we're going to do right of way at 75 feet, we do right of way of 75 feet. And that's where I'm at from the highway department. I have sent a letter out to somebody already in the past because their vehicle was inside the right of way and was then removed. Every time there's things that I go through there where I see new things that are put in bills, I have pictures of them. I'm giving them to Deputy Lee and to Dave Attorney and letting them know. That's kind of where we're at.
So we enforce it for one, we have to enforce it for all.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, but you know, driving through this area a lot, being I live out there, I fully agree with the residents that there is nothing being done. And I don't know if the other commissioners are aware, but Barry Kingsbury in Farmington Township is essentially asking for donations, and they are actively cleaning up Nash with donations from other residents and farmers and people that want to see that space cleaned up completely separate. I mean, he has basically just been given a get out of jail free card and you don't have to do a thing, just let us clean it up. And I believe that this is the route we're on for Vestyville as well. And so I hope that we can.
Well, he did, my understanding is he transferred the property to them, so they now own them.
Right, but he has done nothing to clean it up, is my point. You know, there's been no effort on his end of putting anything in the dumpsters or it's just, it is.
Walked away.
Yeah, walked away.
And that's our concern too, is when, once this is all settled, who's gonna be responsible for cleaning it?
Yeah.
Is it gonna be Walsh County? Is it gonna be the township? Is it gonna be Vestyville? is, I mean, we can't afford to,
The Nash was his property too.
you know, either.
Right.
And,
And they had 30%, that's how much they've gotten the last that I saw an update from Barry, the cost it took for that. It's a lot.
Karen,
Would it help to, change the right of way of how close could some of that,
I don't think we can do that.
I'm talking to Jason.
For planning and zoning, you might be able to change the right of way for that just in Wesleyville to make it, being that the right of way is 75 feet. I don't know how easily that can be taken care of in a process. I don't know how much we have to do. According to the state, and as soon as the first items came up looking for Wesleyville, I started looking for anything for Wesleyville for zoning or to see if there's any type of issues, and there wasn't one. It was 75 feet all the way through town. So unless that can be changed to the same as the township where it's 33 feet, and 75 feet, it's quick, you're in people's driveway. On the long ways into the driveways. There's houses that are almost entirely.
I'm gonna say you'd be in somebody's porch there a couple times.
Yeah, so that does make it hard for the residents of Wesleyville, because to be fair, 75 feet, if everybody in Wesleyville doesn't have their stuff moved 75 feet off, then how, I mean, we can enforce this because it's a nuisance and it's junk and it's rodents, but the right of way it's his right of way too, so if something could be done about that, I'm not sure. I mean, he's gotta get the stuff out of there, but
He just keeps hauling in stuff,
he does, but
not getting rid of it.
But if we open the can of worms and we tell him he can't do it at 75 feet, he's gonna have a lawyer and then it's gonna come to you guys.
yeah,
Then your trees are gonna come down.
so.
I think it's better we let the court handle it and see what happens here, cause I don't think, I know what you guys want, but you better be careful. Cause if everybody gets treated the same, there's gonna be a lot of stuff moved in Wesleyville, and I don't wanna see that either.
No.
I've lived there all my life and it's a nice town. You just gotta have patience and hopefully to the courts and Kelly and them, they can handle this and get it taken care of. It might not be tomorrow, but if it's in May, that's good too. Cause once he goes to court and he gets fined, something's gonna get done.
well, that's what I think, the only way to deal with someone like this gentleman is get him in the pocketbook.
Well,
It's the only way he's gonna listen, because you can talk to your blue in the face to him and he'll keep telling you exactly what you wanna hear. I mean, he's done it for years.
but that's what happened in Nash.
Yeah.
It was a township issue and they let it slide, gave him the warnings and nothing really was reinforced. Now with this in the courts, we've got something to stand on, and I think we gotta let the process go. Cause we can stand behind that as a commission, support what Kelly and them do in the courts and say, okay, here it is.
Yeah, and I'm all
Yeah.
for that.
It's the only avenue we have.
And I don't like that it's gonna take a while either, but I think that's our only option.
But,
And I would say, think about what's in the right of way of the residents. Have everybody think about that, not because he has, but because if he would do something that, be ready for what he could do too. So.
I have two questions. One, has Mr. Sam been billed for anything that we removed, or the county removed out of the easement area?
Send a bill for the stuff, I have
That's
to check
okay.
to see if it pays, I have to check.
Okay, was it substantial? Do you remember?
Because we can only charge what our time and issue is, so we charge them for the pickup. 5 staff, the skid steer and the trailer with the skid steer out there, but we can't charge anything above and beyond what our time and materials
Okay,
are for anything in the county. So there's nothing else we can do other than that, I'll have to double check and see if we received any payments, I can't answer that.
and then the second question I have is, I know that it was going to be reviewed at planning and zoning. Have we had that meeting yet, or have we looked into that? We were going to try to redo the policy, right, in planning and zoning? Is that?
That requires an extensive amount of work.
Okay.
So hours of time to basically redo that whole comprehensive plan of some sort. And it probably will require some meetings at some point too, but definitely probably several, at least a couple, 3 meetings. So no, I've got lots on my plate right now, Christie, I'm sorry, but.
No, I was just wondering where we're at, because my concern is.
I mean, I think, and if somebody wants to take it and run with it, because I know it's not my office, I wouldn't have to do it to update. But, you know, I'm willing to, put in some work and do that at some point, but if somebody wants to do it faster to get it updated, but yeah,
I'm just
I
wondering
looked
if
it up.
another county would possibly have it, that we could kind of borrow it from.
I have both, I have Grand Forks counties, it's just a matter of somebody going through and deciding what they like about and what makes sense in ours, and going through it and figuring it out and rewriting the whole thing, because I don't know that somebody's gonna have a draft of it in Word either, so it's gonna have to be all
Okay.
redone.
Because it's not,
Turn into a rabbit hole.
Maybe Tanya would be willing to.
well,
I don't know how busy
my
she is.
concern is if we get the problem resolved in Vestaville, we've seen what happened.
Right.
We saw what happened with Nash, Vestaville, he's gonna pop up somewhere else. So if we don't get some teeth.
Well, he's already in violation of our current
Yes.
planning and zoning policy, so if they wanted to, if the planning and zoning wanted to proceed with something, they could certainly do that under the existing plan.
Okay.
I think we had decided that, we were gonna, that I was gonna proceed with the public.
Yeah.
Yes,
One other thing, you know, he claims to be running a business there. Has he filed any paperwork with the county as far as running a business? Does anybody know?
We have to.
Well, it'd be commercial. It's a business.
Then this property detect commercial.
Just like Pegwoods when they sold the farm and they decided to do mechanics, their taxes, they were sort of shocked, but the taxes went up because it's commercial. Same with the forklift guy in Boston. It's commercial business, it's a different animal. And I was gonna say, the other
We
be,
have to get a permitted use
Yep,
from the
yep.
planning and zoning as well.
yep. But I think somebody said at that planning and zoning that, because of the store, that thing was already zoned commercial. If I remember right, somebody mentioned that at that
I
meeting.
think so.
And I wonder if it was a Luther or somebody, but I think it's already zoned commercial because of the store that was there.
But he would still be having to pay stuff on that.
Well, he'd have to file for permits or whatever, didn't that easy? Yeah,
So Ed would be able to answer that question. wouldn't
I'll
he?
text it.
I think so.
And last thing is, so he failed the public health inspection. What, is there a reason why the fire, he doesn't have to have a fire inspection passed? Is that he doesn't have to pass a fire code or some sort there? I mean.
That's over my head.
I don't know anything about the fire.
It might depend on what kind of business.
You mean relating to the safety in the long grass for a fire? Yeah, I don't know.
What, yeah, that'd be a question for the fire chief of that district, I suppose.
Yeah. Is it any different than a lot in town that lets the grass grow and it's 5 feet high? I mean, I don't know.
You know, if somebody threw out a cigarette, I mean, you can keep the property maintained. So you have long grass and you have stuff growing. I mean, all it would take was somebody driving by the county road, flicking out a cigarette butt or something like that. You
Look
know,
at Nash,
you have fire.
that was on fire company here.
So, I mean, it puts the whole community in jeopardy as far as that goes too. So I'm just wondering if it would be possible. If you would have to pass a fire inspection.
That'd be a question for the fire chief.
Fire chief or the state fire marshal.
I don't know what district that's in,
That might be Minto or Grafton. I know on the farm I was in Minto, but I don't know where that's on.
Yeah.
Ed said that, not sure, that would be a planning and zoning issue. Well, planning and zoning, you don't get the permit from the planning and zoning committee, you get it through the. Do they get a
So
zone?
you would have, I think you'd have to file something with the planning and zoning and to be able to get a permitted.
But that's not an entity that gives out the permits, you'd have to come to the courthouse and get a permit, correct?
But I'm probably thinking, and I've only been on planning and zoning, I'm sure planning and zoning would have to put their blessing on it before they come here. I'm just thinking.
But you said it's already zoned?
I think
I think it is, I think it's zoned already, so. Whoever's got the maps and everything, they could look.
After we started this business, he wouldn't need a permit yet, but.
I don't know.
Guess the best I can say is, it's in the courts right now, that's where we have to sit and wait and see what happens, but.
Okay,
I feel your pain, we all do.
well, I appreciate all that you're doing. I just don't want us to get stuck with the bill when it all comes down.
Yeah, I know.
And property values too. Who wants to buy a property in Vesey building? You got a nuisance ground next door. And it's right next door to the church.
Yeah.
Is he still using the bathroom there?
I don't know. Johnny, do you know?
I don't know for sure, but I asked him what he's using for water there, and he said he takes water and he pours it down the toilet. To flush the toilet. So apparently he's not hooked up to rural water.
Well, we're working on it.
Thank you.
All right,
Terrible.
We'll move on to Jason.
Do that.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Oh, I have just one question. So that January 8th date, that is when they would decide whether it goes to jury or before that? And then that would be a jury.
No,
date.
it'll be a status conference, so then what'll happen is we'll get set for a pre-file motion deadline through that
Oh,
conference.
so it could be,
And jury trial at that date.
Yeah.
You should schedule it for each trial date, a peremptory call jury trial date.
but it would probably be 2 months after that even, right? Probably, maybe, I don't know.
The jury trial.
Let me know.
Schedule it,
Yeah.
I would guess it'd be February or March.
Oh, so that's kind of his date, to have it
Yes.
cleaned up by.
Kind of,
Or
you know,
decide what he's
obviously, there'll be a pre-trial conference date sometime before jury trial, which is the last date for plea agreements.
Sweet, yeah.
So that's also motivating.
Outside of the county, look at things.
Okay, right.
Okay, so that's where he did the clean up that.
It's in January, so it's like. This fall, so it's the next.
All right, Jason.
First item on agenda I brought today is County Road 1, where we had the culvert and the gate valve will be installed. It's a junction of 1 and 32, where we put in a gate valve with the underneath the agreement that would remain open until the field was being flooded, and then we would close it. Our guys went out and we're up doing some work and noticed that gate valve was closed. So we opened it back up and we chained it open. They were looking, saying that we were flooding out the field, which when I drove out there, all the water is in the ditch. It's flowing in the ditch, it's working as it is needed. Since that culvert was put in, this area has firmed up tremendously. For your frost boils, you need to have moisture, some soil that is conducive to frost boils and freezing. Well, you have all three of those in this area. Since we're removing that water, that road is finally falling off.
Where's this wide difference?
It's Highway 1 and 52. North of Edinburgh.
West or north of Edinburgh?
Right at the junction of the county line, basically.
Okay,
County line.
right off 32,
Right
okay,
up 32.
gotcha.
It's right in the intersection of 32 and 1.
Ernie and I have woken up, they're looking at this.
Couple things.
All of this water's come out of that drain tile?
All this water is coming out of the field that's on the north side.
The north side is cattail.
And coming down the ditch from on the hill off of to the west. And then the ditches have water coming through them. It's coming through the gravel veins. It's coming through all the areas that.
Is some of them coming from the south now too? Cause the water, if you go back, I bet you it's quarter to half a mile. It's water in the ditch and it's gotta be coming to the north.
Yeah.
He must have a drain tile gravity there or something that's sending more water.
Field
Yeah.
that is, they laid out this pushing water to.
First one to get drain tile.
So you said the valve was closed
Yes.
without permission?
Yes. So we open it back up and
Well, let's go close it again.
we chained it with the padlock. So if it is removed again, I would like permission that if it's closed again without us doing it, that we can remove it. Because it's just gonna be a recurring issue.
Let's talk to them first and
Yeah.
explain it.
I spoke with them. And he's adamant that we are doing the same story that from the conversations where you and I and Ernie have all met with before. Everything that we've talked about, he's just adamant that we are doing damage to his fields, or water is in the ditch. We're not pushing water onto him, it's into the ditch. He worked his permit, but he did his work on the other side of the road. It's all flowing. The water is all flowing there.
Flows east.
Flows east.
Yeah. You clean that.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I don't even know if, did he have a permit with the state?
he's supposed to get a permit with the states for doing work in theirs. I do not know what the aspect of that is. That's not something that,
We gave the permit work in that ditch.
Right.
yeah.
And the Melvin, then we told him what the perimeters were.
Yeah, and if you look at the second page, it shows you, that's the picture showing what he drained out.
Harold and Mark are doing it.
Harold.
And the water is flowing through there. And there's no holdups. What they did was working. It's not, doesn't look like it's making any cuts or anything like that. You know,
Yeah, it's staying right in the ditch. What's the deal?
Well, his, like, we're grinding his fields off, well, maybe, I don't know, cause I think his thought is, cause it's a gravity flow and there's water in the ditches, it's holding it back. Well, I'm sorry, go to pumping then.
Where the water runs.
Yeah,
That's what the ditch is.
we have done everything and met with him and whatever, yeah.
it's extremely flat through his field. There's nothing that we can do about that. The areas he has the biggest concerns of are on Highway 32. I have zero
It's a
control.
cattail swamp right to the north.
Yeah.
That will snow.
They have wetlands to
As
the
the snow
north.
melted, it's running.
You know, there's things that he says that the DOT has issues with underneath Highway 32. I haven't looked into it, it's not my jurisdiction, I'm not telling DOT how to run. I can't, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I just wanted to bring this situation up and let you know that.
I would think if, and me and Danny, and you and I met with him, if this persists, before you take that off. Have a meeting with us three out there again and tell them that, if you do it again, she's coming off.
Yeah.
And if you want one real quick to back you up, I would say let's have one.
Where is it that you want that water to go from that drain tile?
So it's down there now.
Do you want it to go north or do you want it to go east?
East, it needs to go east in the ditches.
You know, that ditch should be cleaned out.
He did. He did the first part, that's why it's starting to go. But I think he could have probably went a little more, but he didn't, but at least it's moving to the east. Cause he had a permit to clean that out.
The part that he's cleaned that he did is all you need to, because right after he cleaned up to that yard, and once you get to that yard, it runs to the culvert, and then it goes into a drain.
That drain deal.
The coulee drain, that's what drain that takes to the south, so that's where the water is intended for that area to go. So that's where that one is. So just wanted to let everybody be aware of it and figure pictures that make the most sense for it. The next item I have is the County 6 Forest River Bridge complaint results. Kevin Mutter's complaint on number 6 on our county bridge that is directly north of Forest River. On number 6, we talked and met with people of Forest River about dropping it at a foot. So that we could put it back to our design specifications that were there. They did not like that idea. We didn't move forward with it. Complaint was filed with the water board. Houston Engineering came back and we do not, the permit, there was never a permitted dike there from the county or from Mr. Ferguson. The results are that we have to take it out to the ground, to the bottom of the ditch, and it has to be done next week. We had 2 weeks to get it done, and with that, Thanksgiving this week, we weren't touching it. So on Monday, our staff will be mobilizing our excavator to go out there and remove that dike down to the bottom of the ditch, take it down a little bit further and rip wrap it. And we're basically, we have no other.
Where's the water run then after?
It'll run north. It'll run north downward. It'll run north. And then if it pulls up enough, there's triple culverts about a half mile north to go across the road. And then if it's anything like the floods from the last few years, they'll continue going over township roads and until it finds other areas to underneath six.
Eventually it'll go east.
And it goes out towards the middle.
The trouble is it'll wash out, like I always call Gibb Samples Road and that, it'll wash all those out again, and it was anyhow.
That's why they're running that pump and tractor down there. Yeah.
But it should, if it goes far enough north and it lets it go, it should help our road. So it's a help to the county, but.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, of course, they did that study, I'm surprised they're making us taking it all the way down. Cause we could have lived with the foot or two below the con, just sort of held it and let it go, but. I guess we gotta do what we gotta do.
So is this at our expense, the county's expense, or the farmer's expense,
Our
or
expense.
because?
We can't really prove who did
It's
it.
in our right away and there's no proof on who did it. And when the bridge was put back in, the elevation had it set where that dike was to be built back up, but not to the level it is now. It had it closed off so that water couldn't go north through that spot in our plans. Apparently, we never got it permitted to take it back to that elevation when we were doing it. They went and looked at it, so there's something.
I think the confusing thing there used to be a approach there that was a dike, so they did that a little bit higher when they did it, and then all of a sudden.
And when the
Nobody
bridge
keeps
was,
track of it, and all of a sudden now it's up to our road.
and when the bridge was replaced, there was a bypass built right there.
Right.
It was built on that side for that bypass. I remember that when I was driving it in my job down with the University Park. So
That's what we gotta do.
that's where we're at. We'll be digging it out. We'll be just making sure we get our slopes right, take it down a little bit extra so we can wrap it and
Who's downstream from that where that water's gonna run?
it'll go to the fields of Ferguson and Norlock. And then it'll keep going, so. Brad was at the water board this morning asking that we not do it this year, we do it next year. Once the letter states I can. I have to do it. I had 2 weeks from the time I received the letter.
Yep.
Is this the area we were having trouble with Forest River on flooding?
Part of it, it's part of the cause.
One spot out of many.
Yeah,
Does this go to Woods's, this water?
Go to where?
this water will stay on the west side of number 6 and flow north.
Okay.
So it'll be no straight.
And then eventually cut east.
And then eventually cut east. There's
Okay.
multiple places it's been cut.
Trouble is when it cuts east, then it goes across the fields and washes them out or whatever. It's out of the river,
Yes. That's that one, so that's where our guys will be starting Monday. Rather have done it this spring, so we could have had the riprap and grass growing, now we're.
That scares me, no grass or anything.
Yeah, that's,
So I'm really nervous about this.
Got plans for the crew then if we get an open winter?
Yes, we have a bridge that we have component for, we can go and do a rebuild on, we have trees and right of ways we can be working on, we have all our signs we can be working on. We have shop builds, we have trailer repairs.
It'd be nice to get caught up on this stuff.
Yes, I would, we have 2 applicants for the sign, so.
good.
But we'll still expecting possibly 1 or 2 more.
So this sort of retains and goes back to dikes, dams, ditches and everything else, and I said, hey, we gotta start looking at anything that touches our county road and even the township should. It can't be done, you're diking, damming and diverting water, and that was the main thrust behind this agreement or this decision by them. Is that it diverts and installs water, what is it, 50 acre feet or more?
15 years.
Yeah.
And
So-
there's a spot in Century Code when I've been looking at the dike information that puts the water board's portion. And then but they have to have a complaint in order to address anything from their standpoint. And then you get to this instance for it. The water board has to pay for the engineering fee for there's no reimbursement for them for that. So all the engineering that Houston did with all their surveying, all their stuff, right, all their reports all that time is a cost to the water board for these complaints. And all these different complaints that they get are a cost to the water board.
So Nathan and I talked and even the water board this morning, I think we can curtail it and it's already in Century Code. Maybe we gotta go to, I don't know if it's planning or zoning, whatever, but we gotta start enforcing this so the water board don't have to spend the money in all the studies. If we enforce it, We make the decision here and we've got its capability because it's in century code. We stop it, it's done. Why should the water board spend all, they're just like us, all this engineering fees and everything else, it's major money down there.
Yeah.
The backup complaints this high. This one. And it's all requires, once the complaint comes in, it's engineering that, you know what, it shouldn't be allowed anyhow, let's do it. So I think we can help the water board a little bit too and on our right of ways and stuff and just say, hey, it's not allowed, it's. That's what they have with all this money being spent on engineering, because that's the first thing that happens once, this one, when it went down there, it's the first thing that happened, well, we'll do a study on it. Then they go through the hydrology and everything else. It comes back, what it happens. That's what the complaints in, it shouldn't be there.
That's where we'll be going.
Yep.
All right,
The next item I have is a Grants Vicky drainage permit. He's looking to add a culvert into his bin site. We took a look at the water board this morning. The biggest question the water board had is why so small a culvert? That's the size of the drainage already has purchased and he wants to put in is a 12-inch culvert that's 60-foot long for it. There's no issues from the water board or from my standpoint as to the location of it. It's gonna be taking water down the ditch towards the new bridge on 19.
I think the only concern they had is that it's gonna get that little 12-inch will get blocked and then it'll hold water, and they're gonna try talking me to a bigger one, but it is what it is. I was down there when they talked about it, I'll make a motion to approve this.
I'll second it.
yeah, where exactly is this, Christie, you know?
Yeah, it's right along, the Portville highway, the highway going into Portville. You can see the bins there right off on the south side.
Outside.
On 18,
Yeah.
Between the new bridge and Portville.
west of Portville. No, yeah, west of Portville, yeah.
West of Portville, east of the new bridge.
Do you know where Laurel lives? Laurel Kibitsky lives? Do you know where she lives?
Oh, yeah.
Or where the cemetery is? It's kind of in that area.
Right.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? We'll call for the vote, Karen.
Yes.
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
Myself, yes, and carried. The Portville Bridge is open?
Portville Bridge is open, number 8 is open, number 6 is open. They're all open.
Yay. Portville, which is very, very nice. I love that.
It's very nice. There's actually a spot there underneath it where the riprap, they put gravel for games and move underneath the road.
Did you get all the camera back or did somebody get one or two?
No, we got them all.
Yeah.
So I got to write up an invoice so you get your paid for it. But the last thing I had for my item is maintenance certification signature that we have to give the DOT. That's just a yearly thing that we have to fill out that says we are maintaining and inspecting all our federal projects and taking care of it with our federal money and making sure that we're not just using our federal money and doing something wrong, which would be notice to us to do. So the last thing I had for
Need a
you.
motion to approve the neighbors.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? We'll call for the vote, Ernie. Yes, Chief, Chris,
Yeah.
Amy?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried. Yeah, where would we be without our federal money?
Bro.
We wouldn't have 19, chip seal, we wouldn't, well, that's state money, but we wouldn't have the last 3 bridges, the 2 bridges that are already built in January, or the next 6 after that are all in books, so.
Your inspection of the bridge is coming. Maybe getting that straight, it's still mess.
Lots of hit and miss, the stuff that we have where it says where they are, a lot of them aren't there, so we went through the list showing what they had. We may just, if we do have an open winter, we'll probably be sending guys out and just say, go and take a look and go through it take a plat book and go township by township
Yeah.
and get a real documentation of what we have for culverts, what we have for bridges, what we have for everything. And that would be huge. That'd be great information for us and for the water board to have, honestly. But that'd be another thing that if we do have an open winter, that's where we'll be.
Still looking into 12B, county 12B for a resolution.
Yes.
We're not forgetting about that. Okay, I'm not gonna let you forget about that,
Yeah,
so.
I haven't figured you would,
That's really nice shape though, it's on.
I think that gravel seems like it's really firmed up for the times I've been driving down it, so, but we're still looking at possibilities what we can do for it to add on to that. So, yeah,
Something a little more permanent.
yeah.
So for the inspections, Jason, what ended up happening for the bridges, like on 8, was it a 1 day, like they went and looked at them all for? to get them
Yeah,
open?
one day the contracted people, came up and took a look at it. And then last week, it was last week that Wade, Sam and I from KLJ met with the DOT and went through all 3 sites as well. So,
Oh, look, this is DOT is short of staff. We're here waiting on our bridges to be open.
well, it's, part of it is the contracted. When they go and do these projects, all our main inspections that are out there, Collins Engineering is not under contract for inspecting your newer replacements. So once they get done, then we had an issue where that contract wasn't there for Collins to do those inspections. So they start working on doing those new inspections and adding it to their list of inspections to do. And they go through the paperwork of going through that process. Where I would still just prefer being KLJ as certified, that we could hire KLJ to sign off on everything so we can open up. And we've been talking, but I've been talking about people.
That engineering department, was it out of Chicago, that guy that got the contract?
Yeah, Chicago and there's Chicago and St. Paul. But such a good the.
Well, to me, it's a political deal. More damage than there is.
Somebody knows somebody.
Yeah.
Why we can't take care of it locally is beyond me. I know what's, anybody else.
Houston Engineering partnered with 2 other companies so they can the bid in the southeast.
For this, what Collins is doing?
Yeah.
But I mean, we get Houston.
Well, Houston only bid that portion, because that's all they could handle for staff.
Oh, yeah.
KLJ went after this area and tried to do it, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
So. But that's all I have for you, unless you have anything additional for me.
Any other further questions for Jason?
You wait for more guys on that time deal or?
I figure, I'm hoping, I told our staff, being we have applicants, we're closing it to the public, they gotta get them in this week. I've talked to people that had expressed interest until this week, and then next week I'll go over the reviews, I wanna try and set up some interviews in first week of December, so they can get it hired.
Okay.
So I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks, we'll go into the interview process, that they get a full schedule.
Anything else for Jake? Thank you.
Oh, I got one more, excuse me, how about that transmission? Did we get one fixed in that truck?
It's still sitting down there, we're waiting for one part. So our bridge truck is still sitting down there for the $26,000 transmission.
What?
Yes.
$26,000 for a transmission.
Yeah.
That big truck?
Pickup, is it a pickup truck?
No, it's our bridge service truck.
Okay, service truck.
And so it's a big truck that we use for pulling around the skid steer or on the equipment and.
How old is that?
Yeah. The transmission that was in it was only used for 1 year. And we tried to see if we could rebuild it and they couldn't rebuild it. So we had to go on and do a replacement for it. And the replacement transmission was $26,000.
You couldn't find parts. Man, 1 year old.
It was a very expensive week that week. We had, no, it's too old of a truck to even have a warranty on that one.
Well, we can't get rid of it now.
Well, that's what I said, what would a new one cost if you're talking Bucos?
So yeah, a lot more than that. So that was an expensive week for us. We had 2 motor graders down with depth recharge issues. The one was a filter, that was $5,000 for the filter. The other was components that was $4,300 for, because it wasn't getting hot enough to burn for its regens. And then the new cat has, now it's got, what they finally did, they replaced the transmission yoke that was already pitted and replaced the transmission seal for the 2nd time since we got it last December. It's 11 months old and it's had 2 transmission seals in it. That thing makes me extremely nervous.
I saw that,
Based on the one.
the Park River implement thing for the bills, that's the mower.
Yeah. because that was for the more, 15, yeah. Yeah. And we,
You're probably lucky the transmission went after we said yes.
Yeah.
I was shocked too, and then we could have had a different option and trade it, because that's an automatic, we could have went and put punches and everything and did something different, I said, no, don't mess with the truck and everything. Put the automatic back in it.
that was, the equipment is expensive.
Yeah. Oh, that's old equipment.
All right.
If you don't,
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
makes it.
We're gonna fund this in my district.
Good, thanks.
We have our annual JR license renewal.
Yes, JR's has submitted an application for the 2024 liquor license. We need a motion to approve the license.
So, go ahead. I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? We'll call for the vote. Christie?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yeah.
Amy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried.
The only other one, I just wanna say, the only other one we had was the Walsh County Gun Club, and I reached out to them and I haven't heard back from them. And I'm not even sure if, because it was so late in the year, if they even filed it with the state. So that one could come next year.
They're probably holding off till they open in the spring.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking. The only bad thing is if they did, get it through the state this year, a renewal would keep them from having to go through the first time application, but, so that's the only one that could possibly come still. And then the next thing would be the Carnegie Library. Karen was gonna talk about that.
Yes, Jill contacted me about a vacancy on the Carnegie Regional Library Board. And she had talked to Gabe Risky from Minto, who would love to fill that spot. And so I would make a motion to appoint Gabe Risky for a 3-year term to the Carnegie Library.
And we'll for the second, any further discussion? Any further discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. Christie?
Yeah.
Ernie? Yes. Karen?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Myself, motion carried. Year-end training?
Yes. So, in talking with Tyler, we noticed that we don't have any year-end training scheduled at all. And that is to roll over into the 2024 year. I've been working, Andy and I both have been working with this gentleman, and he is very concerned with the way things are sitting right now, us not having one-on-one training. There's an option to do, a free virtual webinar. That's all that the only option we really had was that free webinar at this point, because it's so late in the game. So this gentleman has offered to open up a couple days to give us the training. I meet with them tomorrow. So I am asking for the general ledger payroll system year-end rollover. I'm asking for approval to spend $1,430 on a 2-day training seminar. I guess it would be one-on-one. When we were done with the second day, we would be all ready to start the 2024 year. Just looking at it, the general ledger and accounts payable is the morning of the first day. And it appears that payroll is going to be a lot more complex. It's 3 sessions worth. I reached out to Grand Forks County and Stutsman County because it's hard for me to know if it's worth spending this kind of money. It could be something they could send me instructions and we could do it ourselves. And they both agreed. They thought that it would be in the county's best interest to spend the money on that. We are, I visited with Ed and we are under the contract price already. So even with this additional fee, we are still under. So it's not like we'll be over what was anticipated originally. So I'm asking for that. And then as well as there's a W-2 1099 end of year processing session. There's a workshop that's $150. The soonest we can get in is, January 16th, 17th, 18th, or 19th. And that is where they are going to just show us how it's done, minimal interaction, and then we have to do it ourselves. Again, Kenny, has offered to open up his schedule for January 11th. And it would be one-on-one as well. And he would walk us through, and at the completion of that one-on-one session, our W-2s would be completed. So, it would be sooner than, even waiting on the workshop. The fee is $390, so it's an extra $240 to have the one-on-one. But with it being our first year, I do highly encourage you guys to allow me to spend the additional option fee for both of them.
I make a motion to allow Christie to spend the money on the year-end training.
Where's the training at?
It would be here, so it's all virtual, yeah, and so he logs in, and so he sees my screen, and it's been fantastic. I've been meeting with him every Wednesday.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, any further discussion? Chris?
Yeah.
Mary?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
That's all, yes, motion carried.
Thank you, guys.
At the auditor vacancy update.
Yeah, I just wanted an update. We had interviews the last Monday. A decision has yet been made. Tanya and I are looking into it, so I will report back once we have a decision made. We have 3 applicants.
Okay. Additions to the agenda, we have the incubator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that actually came, so I'm gonna update a little bit on both the JDA. It was from the JDA meeting that this came from, but Dawn did say that she'd be happy to come to a meeting, if you guys wanted her to next month, but essentially where things are at with the incubator is the initial bid came back in 1.3 million above budget. And so they went back to the drawing board. They just had another bid process. They had an electrical, they did have a bid that was on track, but no contractors, bid wise. So they're struggling to find people that are, willing to do the job. And so that's kind of where that is. She said, went back to the drawing board, yeah, and then no other bids, builders or other vendors. They received 1 mechanical and electrical bid, which was near the estimate, speculating on the cost for lack of bidders, location, scale, not big enough, not small enough. Large builders are busy with large projects, too large for smaller builders in the immediate area. And then the federal requirements with Davis-Bacon bonding. So they're going back to the drawing board, discussing with the EDA what options they have to meet the federal requirements. They've got several sources of funding that she's looking into, including destination development grant. So it's continuing. She said, stay tuned is kind of where things are.
So it's continuing, just not off the drawing.
It's not off. It's not off at this point, like the EPIC was announced. And then I also wanted to update you guys, the JDA meetings have been quite interesting. So the daycare project, the daycare that's going to be located in Grafton, the JDA, I am extremely grateful that Stacy Siboney has the new role, because she came back to our last meeting. We now have a procurement policy. The JDA owns the building. They bought the building. And so we're going through the bidding process with contractors, and kind of the same thing. There isn't anyone that's overseeing this. It's the board, which is not ideal, but we're far enough in. We've got the grant. The monies are there. We have a provider who's in still, and wants to make this happen. She's not in an ideal situation in her current location. So we're pushing through to support that and support where this money came from, but it's a big deal.
Which building did it went?
So it's it's on Main Street. So there's Hair Camp, and then there's on the corner there, Chris West used to have his insurance and then rent was next to it. So both sides, that whole space, it's two. Rem moved, now we're moving into the chiropractor office because he moved out. So the building's almost vacant. We've gotten a water pipe that we just approved now to hire an architect. So the other thing is so many federal requirements, right, with all this money, you don't just get to, if it's privately done, you can go.
Yeah.
And the timing is the big issue, so we're hopeful a year from now, which is not ideal for the daycare provider, but if not her, we're hoping that this is gonna help, because they have up to 80 kids that you can provide if they do it right and go through all the steps. So it's in an architect's hands. We have approved that for them to go through and pretty much give us a laundry list of what needs to be done so that this project can happen.
Because it's federal money, you gotta worry about all that too then?
About what's that?
Investment and all that? These old-
They're beyond that piece of it, sprinkler system, water pipe, they needed a dedicated water pipe, it's just.
Handicap accessibility, I bet. will
Well,
be
being a
part of
federal,
it.
you know, you're gonna have a lot of red tape, I call it.
So of course, it'd be easier to just, but the fact that we own the building, I think, is probably what's kept us just to say we need to finish it now that we've started it. So that's kind of where those projects are.
Thank you.
Payroll assistant, did you?
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Tanya and I were visiting this morning on the phone, so bear with me because we just talked about it this morning. But what we're talking about is we need to do something for Christy. She is putting in far more hours than any employee should have to. And we need to do something for her. And you found a section in our personnel manual. It's in 3.4 of our manual. And it says, under certain conditions, exempt employees may be paid overtime when, and Christie is considered exempt. When the overtime is reimbursed to another county by, when the overtime is reimbursed to the county by another agency. In other words, we are not using county mill dollars. And then the second requirement is the overtime work is separate and distinct from the exempt employee's regular duties and responsibilities or the overtime does not interfere with the exempt employee's regular duties and responsibilities. We feel that, number one, we might be able to possibly meet this using ARPA funds, because that's not coming from county mill dollars. We could possibly use ARPA funds to give Christy some money for the time, all the extra time she's been putting in. And the second part of it is that this overtime work is separate and distinct from her normal duties. I mean, she came into a situation where she was left with some issues. Transition of this software, she's been doing things over and above her job duties. Payroll audit, I mean, she has an audit, deputy two auditor for that. I can never keep those two straight. But she's having to do this as well. So we just feel like this is a warranted situation. Where we need to get Christy some additional funds. So we're looking into this. If you guys are okay with it, we do need to check with ARPA to make sure that ARPA funds could be used for it. Christy knows nothing about this yet.
No,
This is news to her.
embarrassed, actually.
Yeah, no, it should be. I mean, you're working way too many hours. I mean, I don't know anybody that's sacrificing practically every weekend, all their evenings. But we need to. And we need to reimburse you for some of this. So if you guys are okay with it, we're going to continue to research this and see if we can get you some extra funds. Okay, now what we need what our question to you, to the other commissioners is how do you want to handle this? If we are able to use ARPA funds, do you want to start from that point forward? Do we want to go back? I'm assuming you've kept track of your time.
Yes.
Okay, do you want to go back? How do we want to handle this?
If I would go back, no, this lady's ridiculous.
Well, not all the way, you guys.
Well, no.
No, I mean, that's up for discussion. I
That's not
appreciate.
your call.
I know, but I just want you to, I do not expect it all the way. I just throwing that out there.
My suggestion would be is any new department head is going to put in extra time, right? I mean, that's just comes with the job. A new manager, you put in extra time. So how about if we looked at all the hours and instead we paid a percent of those hours? So maybe we pay 75%. Because maybe that's what's over and above. I mean, it's not abnormal for new department heads to put in extra hours. What's abnormal is the amount of hours that you are having to put in.
For as long as.
As you have, we were
Yeah.
hoping it would be a little more short term, so I guess that'd be my suggestion, I'd like to bounce it off of Tanya too, say, look at all her hours. We'll take it times a certain percent, we'll come up with a percent
And see.
and go from there. Would that be okay? Would you guys be okay with that? And we'll bring it back to you then
Okay.
for a motion.
Okay,
Then you can have time to spend it for Christmas. That means you gotta take time off.
I was gonna say, I'll have nowhere to spend it, I'll be here. Yes, no, I
with
appreciate.
that, sure, we lock the door so you can't get in.
I think you know how much everybody appreciates,
Yeah.
Yes.
but at some point, appreciation isn't enough.
Yep.
You know, we've got to do
It's
something.
your time is valuable.
And my thing is, I totally get it, and I felt nothing but support and that from you guys. But for me, with the holidays coming, like my family is like, what did you do? It's hard for me to be like, yeah, I still think it was a good decision. They're like, you have to go get your head checked. Well, but I still do, you guys, I will say, I
You gotta
still.
realize they're missing you too. and you
No,
should be-
yeah, I know, but you know, it's just hard when you go and,
Yeah.
it's hard to, give your case to them when they don't understand it, they're not in it, but, so.
Say, you better be careful. We're not gonna give you walking papers, but your family might.
Yeah. They're realizing they need me though.
Yeah.
This isn't all so bad.
Mom runs the house.
Yeah, yes, and now it's getting run.
Do we have a light? I mean, do we feel like I just don't want it to be like, oh, now that, you know, like.
No, every time I dive in, I find another layer. And the longer it takes, the more there is to clean up. The concern I have is that we're so close to the end of the year. A lot of this needs to get cleaned up by
Yes.
the end of the year, and now we're 5 weeks out. So there's, a lot, probably more hours than I have been putting in, will have to get put in, just to meet that goal. With W-2s and stuff like that, we don't have to give them out to the employees until the end of January, so it's not like December 31st we just got off, but, I still feel it would be nice to have it in the
Yes.
calendar year for budgeting and stuff like that, so,
We'll just keep asking us for the things that we
Yeah.
can help you with.
Yes.
Because
yes, and I have been, and I've never once shied away from, questioning if I dare come to you guys with any of it, but
One time we talked about hiring another auditor to come in.
yeah.
Still want to pursue that?
Well, Tanya's looked into, the accounting firm to see, and they are willing to come and help us with just an overview of where we are sitting for year end. But as far as an actual audit, I think the discussion would be, a different pay scale for that. I don't think Tanya pushed that too much because we didn't really know where we were sitting up until Sunday, to be honest. Poor Tanya called me because I sent her a text that it needs a lot of attention. So, I don't know at what point I've got things organized. I just need to now sit down and take the time to go through stuff. But it all kind of goes hand in hand. I'm hoping that somebody can come in and help. They've talked about, possibly UND, an accounting student. Tanya said yesterday that there is a site where you can post jobs, part-time jobs, so we're looking at possibility of that as well.
It would be like a paid internship.
Yeah, and I understood it as unpaid, so I was surprised yesterday when, but it would only make sense to be paid, I guess, but.
We did it in the state's attorney before, intern.
I just need somebody to help with the numbers, to dig deep and understand what we're looking for. Because it's, like I said, every layer, and it's hard to pass it on to somebody else and hope that they catch the layers that haven't been caught yet because of time, so.
Our goal was Christie gets it, she knows what needs to be done, but she just doesn't have the time to do it all.
Yep.
So she could have this paid intern here and she could say, okay, this is what we're working on, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I need you to do.
Correct.
So they do it, so that it takes that busy work off her plate,
Yeah.
but yet she oversees it.
Yeah.
And we kind of decided that might be a better way than just bringing in
Right.
an accounting firm and saying, oh, here you go.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, so that's what we're working on that. I know Tanya's been working on that.
And it all takes time, you know, and it stinks as you're so close to the end of the year.
How soon do we need this to happen?
Well, sooner.
Right away.
Yeah, I mean, last week, you know, to be honest, so Tanya's hard on. So, I don't know, like a salary though, I don't know how that would work. We haven't even talked about, yeah,
Come up with a salary.
Yeah.
Like a contract or something before, so much an hour.
yeah, so I don't know if that has to come before you guys in 2 weeks or whatever, so.
Did you act on it now or? That's what we can't really act till we know what the price.
Exactly.
Right, I think we'll have to work on that. I don't think we have anybody here in 2 weeks anyway,
No,
so.
no.
But the one thing we do have, I'm gonna go on to that payroll assistance, because that ties in with this.
Mm-hmm.
So the payroll assistant, Tanya has reached out to Kim Drew, who is a CPA with Legacy Accounting in Grafton here. They would come in and help on our payroll because we're concerned about end of year, making sure all our reports are correct, everything we do is correct. We don't have anybody with any experience in that right now, so we can't expect Christy or Angie just to know. So we can get Kim Drew to come in, him or her, I don't know. She. Okay, so she will come in, it'd be $100 an hour. I don't know how many hours we need right now, but that's her fee. And she would assist with the year-end reporting, the year-end payroll, make sure that we are doing everything correctly. And then she would also review, doing an audit of the payroll. And she would take a look at that as well, to make sure that, just to kind of give you peace of mind, I guess.
Yeah.
And we give you a second set of eyes. So I guess if you guys are okay with that, we would like to bring her in to provide some assistance.
I have no problem. Where we're gonna, can we use our money? Or what? Where's the money?
I'm kind of hoping it can come out of the auditor's budget, but
I haven't even looked at it,
Well, if it don't, we can use it.
We have general.
Yeah.
fund money.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm just sort of curious if you figured, yes, to me, no matter where we need to get the money, let's do it. We can't use ARPA, and if you don't have the money, we'll do it with general fund.
and
You
I'm
gotta
not
get it
sure if you
straight.
have an estimate on hours, I don't.
No, like I said,
Until she gets into it, we're not
I was
gonna.
gonna say, you don't know the problem yet.
no, exactly, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
You know, hopefully in another 4 months, we can look at this thing and, well, you keep saying it, and I'm not blaming you, that something comes up. All the money we're spending now, whether it's extra money here or hiring this, let's hope in 4 months we can look at it and feel comfortable and look at
Yeah,
that program and I mean, we spent all this money on this thing, and I always said, it's no good if people aren't gonna use it, then they ain't running right.
Yeah.
That's our goal, and if it takes a little more money, I guess that's what we gotta do. But we gotta get it right.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we would hire Kim Drew at $100 an hour for payroll assistance.
I'll
Do we
second
have a
it.
time limit on that or just till
We get it straight.
so we get
I'm sure
as much as we need?
it'll be.
Is that is the goal of the hire of the new deputy that would be able to?
Well, so our,
Oh, sorry.
the open position is the lowest. The ones that we've interviewed haven't had a lot of experience with payroll as well, so, you know. My goal is, you know, I am trying really hard to take the burden off of everybody else and the taxpayers. That's, at the end of the day, that's always been the one thing that I worry about. So we will do what we can on our own before we get somebody to come in, but I think we're at a point where
Need help.
we need somebody, and maybe she can give us assistance, and maybe it will be something that when the dust settles, maybe I will, be more involved in the payroll and try to figure out a way to get rid of some of the other projects, because I think consistency is very important for payroll. And so if we have to rearrange, you know, a little bit of job descriptions, we'll do what we need to do, because I feel, very passionate about getting it done right. I just don't know the legalities behind it all. I know the numbers and all that, but that's where I struggle is, I can't look at it and make sure we're doing the deep stuff right. So that's where I need the help and guidance. So
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second? Second, any further discussion? Discussion? I'll call for the vote, Karen.
Yes.
Christie.
Yeah.
Amy.
Yes.
Yes.
That's all, yes, motion carried.
Looked at her and
Yeah.
said, Christie.
Seeing if we're on our toes.
She's gotta leave it, Lovin.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for them to say meeting adjourned.
Anything else to bring for the commission? If not, we will adjourn. Thank you.